Hi there, my name's Ian. I'm coming to you from Ottawa, Ontario today, and we're going to be learning about how to make traditional maple spiles, as well as a less traditional but recycled collection jug to put maple sap into for collection purposes. So one thing that's important to note is a lot of this knowledge that I'm going to transmit to you today has been known for a very long time by the indigenous people of this area, the Anishnaabe people. The name for sugar maple in Anishnaabe is Nanaboozhoo, and they were the original keepers of this knowledge, and I'd like to kind of thank them for providing that knowledge to us so that I can teach you guys some stuff today. So sugar maples are native to the Great Lakes region and the sort of east coast of North America. And in the spring, when temperatures go from freezing to above freezing, freezing at night to above freezing during the day, the sap flows throughout these trees. At that time, you're able to collect it. The sap is about, well, there's a small amount of sugar, and if you boil it down, for every 40 liters of sap that you boil down, you'll end up with about 1 liter of maple syrup. Traditionally, the indigenous people of this area would not have been making maple syrup. Rather, they would have been making maple sugar, so kind of like a hard candy. It was really the only source of sugar in the area pre-contact, and was used as a seasoning and a sweetener in a lot of things like teas or for general cooking purposes. So we are going to be learning how to make a maple spile. So that's a little tap that you actually insert into the tree out of a piece of sumac. And then we are going to be learning how to make the collection jug out of some recycled material. I think in my case, it's going to be an orange juice container. Traditionally, it would have been collected into birch bark baskets, essentially, that would be sealed with pine gum or something to that effect. But it's unlikely that you guys have easy access out there to birch bark and pine gum, but I think we all have access to some recycled plastic jugs. So without further ado, I'll show you how I find and collect some sumac so that we can make the spile out of, and I'll also show you how to make the collection jug. All right. In order to make our maple spiles, we're going to need some wood to make them with. The best wood to use is from the plant in front of me with the little reddish tufts on it, called a sumac. The reason a sumac is so good is it has a center of pith wood, which is quite easy to basically poke out in order to make a hollow tube. So we can see there's a little bit of sumac down this way, a little bit over this way. It's got this very distinct branching on it. The berries are often left right until the winter because they're not very high nutrient value. So a lot of the birds, like waxwings and whatnot, that are going to eat fruits, leave these until last. The reason I've chosen this site is because there are some dead sumacs as well, so we can collect from without having to kill any living plants, basically. The berries are actually edible, or maybe chewable is the more correct term for it. They have a slight lemony zest, and you can actually make them into a tea as well. So I'm going to go saw a little piece of sumac off that will then be used to make our maple spile. So here are the materials we're going to need in order to make our maple spile. I have a little knife, a saw in order to cut the sumac that we collected earlier, and then a stiff piece of wire that we can use to poke the pith out, as well as a nail and maybe a little wood screw to help us along with getting that pith out of the center of the sumac. So our first step is going to be taking this and cutting it down to a reasonable length. So I'd say maybe about 3 or so inches long, like that would be more than enough for a spile. go. Now the next step is getting this very soft wood in the center out, called the pith. So as you can see, I can kind of just pick away at it, and that pith comes out just like that. So it's going to take a little while. I'll put it on time lapse, and I will get this pith hollowed out so we can go through. So I now have a hollowed out piece of sumac. You can blow through it. So that is empty. Now the thing that we're going to have to do is we're going to take some bark off using a knife, and we'll sharpen up one end so that it can go into the tree and make a small notch on the other end. So now I have it more or less made. There's a sharpened end on this side that would go into the tree, and then there's a little spile end on this side that the sap would drip out of into the bucket. What I'm going to do is make one small notch in the middle so the bucket doesn't slide down, and then the spile will be complete. So that is the completed spile. There is a notch on top. There's the sharpened end over here, which inserts into the tree. It'll insert at a bit of an angle like that, and then the bucket will kind of hang up on this, allowing the sap to drip off into the bucket. So the next step is going to be making the collection bucket. The final step is going to be making our collection jug. In this case, we are reusing a little bit of stuff that would otherwise end up in the recycling, which is not all that good. As we know, recycling is, not the most ecologically friendly thing in the world, but reusing might be a better solution. So we have this little Tropicana orange juice thing here. We're going to cut a hole in the top, approximately the size of our spile. It's going to kind of end up going in something like that, and then this is just going to hang there as it collects sap from the tree as it drips. So I'll show you guys how to do that. It's pretty simple. I'm just going to take a knife and kind of guesstimate. Probably right about here is good. Put one little cut in. Another little cut. Yeah, that one's not cutting too well, but that's okay. Frankly, that should be good enough. And just like that, that'll go into the tree, and this will hang from it. When you need to collect your sap, simply whoop and dump it out. So that's all. That's how you make a maple spile and a maple collection jug, like so. So in the description below the video, I've also linked to a Anishnaabe story called Nanaboozhoo and the Maple Trees for your interest in reading, if you like. As well as I've linked to the video that I made previously on the whole maple syrup collection process. So that goes through tapping the trees, tree selection, all the way down to boiling, refining, and producing the final product. So if you want to know what to do with your newly made maple spile and collection jug, you can check that out down there.